Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Terrifying Tuesday on this channel where we talk about all things horror. And today we have to talk about Scream 7 and some major plot details that supposedly are true. Let's jump right into it. So once again we find ourselves talking about Scream 7 because apparently more news has dropped about its potential plot. And this news is sort of from a reliable source, but again, take it with a grain of salt. According to the reliable sources, I believe Daniel Richtman originated this, and I've seen a couple people run with it. But according to this, Sidney's family will be the main characters of the new Scream 7 movie. It will be Sidney, her husband, and her two kids. And they are all listed as the leads according to the source. So I had previously said upon hearing that Sidney would be coming back and the possibility that we would see her kids, I had said that I thought it was likely that the opening kill would be her husband. So this doesn't necessarily come as a surprise to me. The idea that her husband, Officer Kincaid, could potentially be the opening kill. However, that's not what this rumor says. This rumor actually is saying that they are going to be the leads of the movie and the movie is going to focus on them. Well, this is good news. And I think it's also potentially kind of the way the franchise needs to go as well. Now, let's break down exactly how this could work and why this is important. Because what you're looking at here is Sidney coming back into the mix somehow. And a lot of people have begun to speculate how that is. Her kids are probably 10 and 11 years old, maybe 12 at the most. And this coincides with the casting of someone from Cocaine Bear. You might remember that I said I think it's going to be the little girl from Cocaine Bear that plays Sidney's daughter. And I stand by this. I don't know who will play the son, but I do believe that that is the casting we get from that movie. The little girl playing her daughter. That's what I think is going to happen. And this kind of works because in order to bring Sidney back, now you have to make it so that these kids and her family are the center of attention. They're not going to put these kids in danger, not in any sort of major danger anyway. However, they could in fact throw them into a little bit of a situation, much the way the two kids in Jurassic Park had to deal with the velociraptors. We could be seeing that type of scenario, but Ghostface would then get distracted and turn around and leave, going after someone else. That's the only danger I foresee the kids getting into in this movie. However, sky's the limit for Kincaid. Kincaid could actually be dead by the end of this movie, leaving Sidney a single mother by the end of this movie. And this would work for a number of reasons. This concept works because you're setting up the future of the franchise. Eventually, this franchise, in order to survive, has to leave Sidney. But does it ever have to leave Sidney's family? Does it really ever have to leave them? And I think that what they're doing is kind of getting ready to take the franchise into a different direction. We first saw Ghostface stalking New York in the last movie, and who knows where they're going to put him this time. One thing that can hurt a franchise more than anything, if that franchise is like the Scream franchise, is to consistently have it take place in the same area, especially since we have set up that people know who Ghostface is all the way across the country. And that presents us with a unique possibility of taking him anywhere at any time. There is the possibility through this that Ghostface becomes more than just a threat to Sidney and her family. You have this possibility that he is now a threat to anyone and everyone because people will begin to use him for their own trilogy of movies. In other words, he'll become Slender Man. He'll become the Boogeyman. He'll become this urban legend that people are using to get away with the crime. And I think that's an interesting concept. But it doesn't have to take Sidney out of the equation completely. And the way to do this is, of course, through the cult of Ghostface. We've seen this whispered before. We've known that Williamson actually had wanted this script to go through originally for part 3. It was kind of supposed to be the way it was going to go, and it didn't work out. It just didn't happen. However, the fact that there could be a cult now would change everything. By now, this cult could exist solely online and on something like Reddit. This would do something different with the franchise that would allow Sidney to go forward. How? Well, eventually what I think will happen is that we will see the end of Sidney Prescott. But by this point, I think we're looking at the possibility of the kids being old enough to carry the franchise on themselves. And if we don't see the end of Sidney Prescott, I do believe we are at least going to see the end of Kincaid. And once this happens, it will sort of bring the kids into the state of mind of wanting to stop any Ghostface killers. They could potentially be hunting them down as well, thereby popping up in various movies in the future, just sort of carrying on the Sidney Prescott legacy. And if Sidney Prescott continues on, then I see her sort of being in that role too, with the 3 of them being sort of these characters that will pop up whenever Ghostface does. Of course, this leads to all sorts of fun scenarios because now you have the potential that the Ghostface identity always being different and always being in a new town, they could constantly be the red herring. They could constantly be the ones that are accused of the crime by the law. And that would be kind of unique and cool as well. Now, there is another scenario here that they set this up in a way that the kids carry on into whatever the next trilogy of movies is. Because I do think with Sidney Prescott coming back, we are looking at the possibility of a new trilogy. And I say this because the kids have to age into the roles. But there is a possibility that they go another route. They could go the route of one of the kids dying eventually, or one of the kids actually turning out to be a Ghostface killer themselves. And of course, whichever one of the kids is the most popular will be the one that gets to live on and not be Ghostface. But I think this sort of raises a couple good options, places that they could go. So I know a lot of people are worried about the future of this franchise, but if this rumor is true that they are the main focus of this movie, I see this as a good thing because this doesn't mean the end of Sam or the end of the Carpenter sisters in general. They could always come back in future movies. They could always be there at some point. It doesn't have to be the end for them. But it does eventually have to change the way they're doing these movies in order to make them work. And I think having Sidney Prescott's kids in this movie and aging them into the age that she was when we first met her might just be the way to go. As always, we want to know what you guys think. Make sure you're leaving us that comment in the comment box below, letting us know what you think. Also, don't forget to share this video with all of your friends. they're going to want to be a part of the conversation as well. Hit that like button because it's free and it helps the channel, and we definitely appreciate it. Then Miko says we need more subscribers. You don't want to disappoint Miko, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell while you're down there so you don't miss a single video we do. And then friends, at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.